Ladies and gentlemen, Epic Tim channel here. Let's jump right into it. If you missed the first part of the wheel tub install, go back to update 12 and watch that first. It's not too long, but it gets you up to speed to where we're at right now. As you can see, we've got the frame closeouts done, 14 gauge cold rolled steeled. I hope you can see how narrow we actually had to make that frame to clearance a 295 tire maximum up here. Very skinny, right where the axle meets the frame. Here's a quick tip: if you have a manila folder, put a bright light behind it, and then you can take a Sharpie and trace out the template very easily from either side. Obviously we'll take that and transfer it down to our steel, and then we'll cut it out, put it in the car. Here's the template pre-fit and the template tacked up. Here's a tip for you DIY guys. Take some half-inch air brake line tubing or polyethylene hose from your hardware store, something that's very rigid and won't fold up on you inside of the frame channel. Duct tape it to your vacuum and slide this all the way down to the end of your rocker channel. Vacuum out all that dust, dirt, and debris that's been collecting in there for the last 50, 60, or 70 years. These don't look in too bad a shape. Honestly, I could just clean up the factory ones like this and run through and be happy with that. Or you could open up the lat flange a little bit more, get a drill and a brush and an extension pole and spin it around and clean up the inside of this thing to where it's minty fresh again. But let's face it, this is a four-door car. No one cares about it, and what I'm doing to it right now is going to outlast my lifetime of ownership. So this was about halfway through. I did get the vacuum back in here and clean up a little bit more, but now we've got to figure out how to make a 6 or 7 foot extension for our Eastwood internal frame prep coating. So what you want to do here to make a longer extension wand for your Eastwood kit is get some .170 ID polyethylene tubing, slash cut the end of it, and press it into the hose. This will make it real simple to slide in. It's a very tight fit, but you don't have to soak it in water, heat it up, or do anything. It'll slip right in. I highly suggest you put some tape on the outside of that just to keep it together and make sure that the pressure from the aerosol can doesn't blow the end of the hose out. Alright guys, I got my frame prep and my frame coating ready to go. Made a little bit of a modification to the hose that comes with the assembly. We got some .170 ID polypropylene hose from local hardware store and made a little bit of an extension. So I've got a splice here and a splice down here. And then the hose was a little curly, so I taped it to an old car antenna off of an old truck that I had been sitting around the garage for who knows how long, which is going to help keep this straight while we run it through the frame. So the idea is to take this and go about all 6 feet all the way down the end of the rocker. As soon as you get to the end right there where it stops, go ahead and hook up your can and start spraying. Now you're not really going to know when it's coming out the other end, so we're going to prime the tube first, put it back in, and then pull it out and spray. And as we pull that out, that's going to coat the inside of this rocker from all the way down there all the way to here. And if we do it right, when we pull it out, we won't make too much of a mess. We'll still be able to clean this up, and we'll do it fairly easily. This stuff runs like water. It's going to come out every nook and cranny in this pinch weld, which is why we got paper on the floor, both sides. Once this thing's lined out, it's kind of a pain to clean. I'm going to take that pre-prep, spray it through, hopefully clean it out and save this for another day for somebody else's car, but if not, it wasn't that hard to make. Let's get to work. Well, all in all, I'd say that went pretty well. So we're going to go ahead and let this dry a little bit. It looks like it coated pretty well, but we want to assess the situation, make sure we got all the spots we want to get while it's out and apart and it's easy to access. Then we'll clean this up, get it ready for welding this front lap flange on. As you can see right here, we've already got it made and formed. We just need to do our final fit and get that set up. Next up, we had to finish tracing out, cutting, forming, and welding the front and rear lap flanges. So here's a quick montage of all that. So now that we got the lap flanges finally welded in, now I need to prep all the weld surfaces for actual wheel tub installation. If you've never seen how well one of these plastic bristle discs on a roll-lock adapter work, check this thing out. It absolutely rips paint off and doesn't remove any metal at all. Now that that's all done, Jordan came over for a bit and helped lay out all the spot weld holds and punch everything with the Roper Whitney. As you can tell, he did an excellent job at the layout and punching. Thanks a ton for the help, Jordan. Next, we lined up the wheel tubs for the last time. Have I mentioned how nice these things fit? Everything got clamped up and tacked in, and then I realized there's a slight gap that needed to make a filler plate to cover a couple of spots. This happened because I may have got a little excited on the template cutting and went about a 1/4 inch too deep in a couple of spots. Not a tough job, but it needed to be done. Did I mention that now it burns when I burn? Alright, I'll spare you a lot of the welding to get these things in because it was a lot. So most everything now is welded up and I have leftover material, so what am I going to do with it? Haha! Surprise rear firewall! Here's a quick montage of the process to fit and weld that in. Big thanks to Mick and Bruce for coming over and help me clamp it all together so I can get everything tacked up.
Jump!
Next, I tackled trimming down the passenger side trunk support flange bracket and fabricating a new driver side bracket. Skipping ahead once again, here are the fully welded results. You can see by the button up, it's editing day, not working day. So we've got everything welded in back here, as you can see. Tubs in, spot welds done, rear firewall in. I had an idea kind of last minute after the tub project started that I wanted to put a plate in here, not only for maybe a fuel cell in the trunk later, but to hopefully quiet down the cabin so that it won't hear as much rear end trunk noise or anything rolling around back there, suspension and whatnot. Hopefully that works. If not, it's a wonderful place to put more sound deadening material. So while the axle's still out, you can see Everywhere that I've got the black marker and gonna go up all the way around where the new and old tub meet together is gonna get seam sealer on that edge. Anything that goes from the outside of the car to the inside of the car, or stuff that could trap moisture and water, is gonna get filled with 3M seam sealer so that it'll stand the test of time and it's gonna keep from rotting out a lot sooner than later. You can see we got a little bit of surface rust here in this area. Unfortunately, we had a very humid day when I had the door open and it caught a little bit of moisture, rusted up, but it's just surface rust. It wipes right off, no worries. I may have got a little aggressive on the front of this radius and had to put a little patch panel in. Word for the wise, if you do this, maybe be very, very careful on your template placement, because that's what got me on this one. And then in the back, I'm really glad I put the axle and wheel tire in, as you saw earlier in the video, and made sure I had enough room for this here, because what was going to happen was the old one came straight down and then out. I gave myself just enough extra clearance, so when this axle goes to full compression, the top of the tire needed just a little bit more room, so that's going to take care of that problem. Here's the shot from the back. I'm going to go through with a die grinder and a roll-lock disc and take off all the high spots from those spot welds and those spot welds and that seam line right there on both sides, so that it's going to look a little bit cleaner. We're going to go back with gray splatter paint. I've ordered some stuff from Eastwood. We're going to see how that looks. We're going to hit this entire trunk floor with a DA 320 grit, try and get it best for paint prep, and we're going to do the best we can. This is probably not the end of trunk modifications, so I'm not going to go ultra crazy right now. What I'm going to do is get all the bare metal treated, coated, and cleaned up so that we don't have any more rusting issues and other details. Driver side, nice and tight, plenty of surface rust for everybody, and then a little patch panel in the back. I think overall, for my first attempt at ever doing sheet metal work, this came out pretty darn good. So we're gonna make this a 3-part install. Next video, we're gonna go over seam sealing all the cracks and joints, painting, prepping, and reassembly, which you've seen a couple of times by now if you're a regular. If not, go check out some of the older build videos and you'll see how the truck arm kit from Hot Rods to Hell fits in, building a custom 9-inch axle, and then installing and setting up all of the rest of the drivetrain from the subframe connectors all the way back. So thanks for watching Epic Tim. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves and the content on this channel. If you want some more Epic Tim in your life, hit that subscribe button. Couple more videos coming out soon. As soon as this is back on the ground in the next video, we're going to go over a ground clearance update. I know several of you have been asking for it. How the detail of those brackets is going to line up with everything else will be told very soon. And who knows? Maybe we'll even go get it washed.